minute, Jack. This is a friendly celebration.
I don't much like the way you celebrate.
This is 4 Men in America for the week of July 10th, and we are coming to you from Florida. This is Don Woolley, your host. I'm waiting for my other panel members to join me. Today we'll have Paul Fitch, Ken Bennett, and Zack Taylor. And before they join me, I just want to send our condolences and our prayers and our thoughts to the people in Texas that have been affected by all the flooding, and also to people in Ruidoso, New Mexico, where there's also been flooding and some lives lost. So we hope you all join us in thinking about them and praying for them. And before we get started here, so we'll begin with our rants for the week, and after that we'll get into this Epstein Files controversy and what's going on there and our thoughts about that. And I think you'll find some of the commentary very interesting. So let's get started. Okay, 4 Men in America is ready to go.
On the front of it, stuck there, it says, "This book can be ignored if the question is safety." And some people don't catch that, but the idea being that, anytime something dangerous happens, well, we can throw the Constitution out the window and give somebody some authority that, like Fauci, to shut down the world. And the big beautiful bill had provisions in it to take out silencers, or suppressors as they're really called, and short barrel rifles and shotguns. And they were going to take those out of the NFA, but it got watered down to not requiring the $200 tax stamp, but you still have to register them, which means that there's a registration of every shotgun, short barrel shotgun, short barrel rifle, machine gun, silencer, somewhere in the bowels of Washington, so they know who to go to first. And that was the whole purpose. There's a whole law written that says they're not supposed to keep a gun registry, because they know what happens. Registration leads to confiscation, leads to extinction. And so that's my rant for the day, is that the Democrats in the Senate eviscerated that out of the one big beautiful bill. And we now, even though you don't have to pay the $200 tax, you still got to register it with the ATF, which is also, in my mind, the only government organization designed specifically to violate a right. That's my rant.
So that's just that just covers short barrel shotguns, you said, and short barrel rifles.
Shotgun, short barrel rifles. Any rifle or shotgun with a barrel less than 16 inches is considered short barrel.
Okay.
Now they've got around it with the AR pistols by putting on what they call a brace, which is supposed to help people shoot it with one hand, because that's one of the definitions of a rifle or a pistol is if it can be shot with one hand, it can be called a pistol. If it takes two hands to hold it, it's defined as a rifle, regardless of what it does. But if it has a barrel less than 16 inches long, then it can't have a stock. It can have a brace. But that should have never happened. Any of it.
Yeah. Okay. So Zack or Ken, what's your rant for the week? Anything?
Go for it, Zack.
Well, I really was disturbed when I heard them talking about giving amnesty to illegal aliens. You just don't know what kind of problems go along with that. The immigration system is fraught with fraud, abuse, and corruption. It is designed to be circumvented. You got enough money and a lawyer, they ain't never going to deport you. And then you talk about amnesty, and that gives hope to people that don't have a lawyer and don't have the money, an incentive to circumvent the law, to be here, because you have to be here illegally to be amnesty.
Yeah. So this you're talking with respect to the hotel workers and the farm workers? Was that who they were kind of hinting about? That's what I heard.
that came later.
Oh, okay.
Now, dealing with what you just brought up about the hotel, or what do they call it? The hospitality.
Hospitality,
workers,
yep.
and the agricultural workers. We have had provisions in the past for those people, and it was called the Bracero program.
Right, that was Eisenhower, right?
Yeah, and somewhere I've got a Bracero card.
Oh, really? Wow.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And I've also got some Mexican voter ID cards. They used to hide them in the truck so we couldn't find out their true identity. But this Bracero card was carried by the agricultural workers so that when the Border Patrol checked the fields when they were out working, all they had to do is show the card that had their fingerprint and their photograph on it. 10 seconds and the Border Patrol agent was gone. The Department of Agriculture got involved, or no, it was the Department of Labor. But this was after the Department of Labor was taken out from, the Border Patrol was taken out from under the Department of Labor and was put under Justice. And they put so many regulations on the farmers for the kind of facilities they had to provide these contract workers. And what it was is they were contracted to work in agriculture in this specific area, and in some cases for this particular rancher. Now, ranchers in particular live in pretty remote places. And so the stipulation was a concrete block structure with running water and toilets and shower facilities. Well, if you ever have dealt with Oaxacans, they lived pretty basic. And so this particular rancher that I talked to had been involved in this, and he went and built this concrete block structure, made a 2-toilet, 2-sink bathroom with 1 shower, and went to that big Air Force base in San Antonio, Texas, and bought some war surplus bunk beds and mattresses. He had 8 workers on this ranch. It was a combination sheep and cattle ranch, mostly sheep, and they mostly grew goat wool, mohair, and wool. So these were sheep shearers. Younger men in their 20s and 30s. So they got there to this facility that the government specified that this rancher had to provide. They disassembled the bunk beds and took the spring mattresses outside and used it for a barbecue pit. They dumped all the stuffing out of the mattresses and put them outside and used it to sleep on. Washed their socks in the toilets and hung them out to dry on the other bunk bed parts. And very seldom, unless it was bad weather, slept in this concrete block structure that the government mandated that they provide. So what seems like to people in Washington, D.C. or most any big city seems like a reasonable accommodation is not what is needed. Or the people that they're dealing with, they don't understand. Why give somebody something they're not going to use? Sort of thing. But a lot of having, especially in the hospitality section in Texas, I dealt a lot with these hospitality workers, so to speak. A lot of them had been working, for instance, at this Hilton for 8 years. And they actually lived in Mexico, but they'd worked a week at a hotel in McAllen, Texas, and go back to Mexico for 2 days and then come back to the hood. They did not necessarily the weekends off. And the only time it came to our attention is if something went awry. Something went missing. The police got called in for a theft. There was a dispute and a fight or something like that, and it was determined that one of these people was an illegal alien. But what we found out was almost all of them had local cards. In other words, they could pass back and forth across the border within a 25-mile radius of the border for a visitor for pleasure. A B1, B2 visa is what the local card was.
That was issued that was issued by the Border Patrol.
No. By INS.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Border Patrol doesn't issue anything but arrest warrants. Well, that's not true. We did something called an I-210 and I-212s for court witnesses, things like that. One of the ones was witnesses to a homicide.
Yeah, mostly law enforcement things.
Yeah. Sheriff says, hey, this is a witness for, they saw this person kill so-and-so. They're willing to testify, but they're illegal. Can they stay in the country? And we give them the 212D4 permit. Any Border Patrol agent that stopped them knew exactly what that was. And they just walked.
Okay.
So it's possible to accommodate this, but talking about amnesty for these people is absolutely ridiculous and sending the wrong message.
Yeah.
You don't dangle a worm in front of a hungry fish.
Yeah. I think that message kind of got through to them, because when I started first hearing about the farm worker and the hospitality workers, the hotel workers, and amnesty, that they backed off that very quickly. So somebody raised hell about it. But I bet I can certainly see why that would be the wrong thing to say, especially in the middle of when you're trying to deport 20 million people, right?
Exactly.
I mean that completely goes against your whole goal. So okay, so we got Zack's rant. He doesn't don't use the word amnesty. Stop. And Ken Bennett, what's your rant?
My rant is Republicans attacking Republicans.
How about Republicans attacking rhinos?
They usually call them rhinos when they want to attack them.
Yeah.
Because they think that supposed rhino is just not conservative enough, but they're attacking each other on, I think, very stupid things. I've got a couple of examples. One, our good state treasurer here in Arizona, Republican Kimberly Yee.
Yeah.
Really like Kimberly. Great person. She has been recruited by the far right, by the Freedom Caucus in Arizona, they call it, Jake Hoffman, to run against our state school superintendent, who's already a Republican. He's one of only 2 Republicans that won last time statewide. And I know people have, frustrations over whether the election was done correctly in 2020 and 2022, but he won in 2022.
Right.
And in Arizona, we have one of the most conservative positions on giving parents choice in their children's education.
Right.
We have the largest percentage of students who are in charter schools that are public schools, and their parents can send them there. There's no cost. We also have this empowerment scholarship account program where you can get money to reimburse your costs for sending your child even to a private school.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Tom Horn, the current state superintendent of public instruction, has been putting what I think are reasonable limits on how these families, these parents, can spend their ESA money.
Mhm.
And he has denied some applications for money that parents have applied for taxpayer money. For example, he denied one family who wanted to use $20,000 of their ESA taxpayer money on a golf simulator machine. He denied one family because they wanted to spend $16,000 of their ESA money on a cello. And he said, you don't need to spend, a cello, a musical instrument, may be an educational tool for children who are interested in music, but you don't need to spend $16,000 on a cello. You can get really nice cellos for $4,000. So he says he allowed $4,000 for a cello, but not 16. He denied a vasectomy testing kit that somebody applied to use some of their money on. He denied $30,000 for crystals that some parent wanted to get and call that an educational expense for their child. Crystals. Anyway, he has, in my opinion, put some reasonable limits on how people can spend this money. And now the Freedom Caucus here in Arizona has talked Kimberly Yee, good friend of mine, into running against Tom Horn. And her number one platform issue is that she, because they required this of her, she says there shouldn't be any limitations on how people can use these tax dollars for their children's $4,000 for ski trips. And on and on and on. He's supposed to send me a list of the 35 most egregious applications for money that he turned down, that apparently has drawn the ire of the far right. And so they're going after Tom Horn. They're going to take him out under the idea that there shouldn't be any limitations on how these families can use their ESA money. And if they do that, they are going to jeopardize the whole program if they succeed in not allowing some reasonable limits on what people can use these tax dollars for.
Yeah.
And that's my rant of the day.
Yeah, that's a good one. They'd be playing right into Katie Hobbs' hands. Right?
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
In fact, the state superintendent before Tom Horn was, I can't think of her name, the Democrat lady. She didn't like the ESA program. So for a couple of years, she was just approving any and all of these things. Anything. And then feeding the information to the teachers union so that they could run these advertisements on social media and radio, telling people what crazy, stupid things some people wanted to spend their tax dollars on to try to kill the program.
Yeah,
and
sure.
If we let that happen, it will kill the program. When I think one of the most important things we need to protect is the ability for parents to choose where their children go to school, and the money to accomplish that follows that decision.
So Ken, have you had a chance to talk to Kimberly Yee yourself?
Not yet, not yet, but I'm gonna.
Yeah, that's kind of surprising because she's a pretty good conservative. It's kind of surprising she would go for something like that. I thought she was going to run for governor. No,
well, she did. She did 4 years ago.
Yeah,
Mhm.
but not
But
this
she
time.
kind of got lost in the shuffle of
Of the 40.
Carrie Lake and Matt Salmon and Karen Taylor Robeson
Yeah.
and somebody else. Anyway, so plus she could run for another 4 years of treasurer, so she did that. She announced for the governor's race, and then when she was coming in third or fourth, and couldn't get any traction, she backed away and ran for state treasurer again, and got elected easily, and has done a good job as state treasurer. I think she wanted to run again for governor this time. But then Karen Taylor Robeson got Trump's endorsement, and then Andy Biggs got in the race, and he got Trump's endorsement. And so I think she decided, well, I can't run for governor and be the third one. I don't know if she'd have got an endorsement from Trump or not, but it's just kind of sad. I like her so much, and I think she's done a great job at most of what she's done in her public service career. But to be recruited by the Freedom Caucus to go after Tom Horn because he will put some limitations on how this tax money can be spent, I think is very unwise on her part, and unwise for school choice to begin with.
So where does Hoffman come from? I'm sorry, Paul. Where does Hoffman come from, Ken? Is he a native Arizonan?
Jake Hoffman, the self-declared leader of the Freedom Caucus in Arizona. He comes from Queen Creek. He was on the city council, I think, in Queen Creek somewhere. But
all right. Okay. So, all right. So what's your question, Paul?
Well, I just wanted to ask Ken, because I having no children in school, I didn't pay a whole lot of close attention to the ESA or the school voucher program. But I was under the impression that if you wanted to take your child out of public school and put them in a private school or a charter school or a whatever, you got a voucher for $7,600 was the number I remember, and you used that to pay the tuition, and that was it. And I've not heard any of these $30,000 gifts from the government to do other things in education. So can you give me a little bit more of a background on that?
Yes, there is a base amount for a regular child's education in the K-12 system. Now, there's a slightly different amount for kindergartners through 8th graders.
Right.
They get a little bit less than a high school student, 9 through 12. But the real difference comes in what are called Group B weights, B as in Bravo. Group B weights are for students that have special needs, so special ed, Down syndrome or autistic children, or blind. Anyway, any student that has a special need qualifies for an extra weight added to their, and those weights can be sometimes 6 or 7 times the base. And you're right, the base is somewhere around $7,000 or $8,000 for a regular student. But if your child has autism or Down syndrome or whatever, you can get extra weights. And so some children qualify for $20,000, $30,000 a year instead of $7,000 or $8,000 a year. And these are some of the parents that are asking for these just crazy, $20,000 golf simulator.
Wait.
But do you, okay, so let me ask you this again. Do you have to submit with your application for these extra monies some kind of professional documentation that says my child is X and needs Y?
My child, yeah. You submit as part of your documentation, my child was diagnosed as ADD, attention deficit disorder, or ADHD, or my child is Down syndrome, or my child is autistic, or my child is whatever, blind, or hard of hearing, or deaf, or on and on and on. So there's scores of extra weights that can be attached to a child based on medically documented needs. And so, yes, the average is about $8,000 per student for a regular normal child, but you can get some pretty significant multipliers for these added weights.
Okay, so my next question would be, the legislation setting all this up didn't put any stringent restrictions on this stuff, and so this puts Tom in the position of having to make decisions when somebody wants a ski trip for their child because they're autistic or something like that.
Well, the legislation says it has to be for educational purposes. And so I think Tom Horn is doing exactly what he's supposed to be doing as the state superintendent of public instruction, to say, we're going to have a process of making sure that monies requested through this program are going for educational purposes.
Yeah. Okay. That's good. Thank you. I just hadn't heard that side of the story. But I think, Tom, I agree with you. There should be some boundaries on this stuff. I mean, I could use an extra $20 or $40 or $50,000, and I'm sure I'm retarded in some way.
So, Ken, do you think the legislature will come back and do some refinement on the law itself, or probably not? No.
There are too many Jake Hoffmans and others in the legislature who will not vote for any reform or limitations. The Democrats won't vote for it because that would protect the program and make it more legitimate to the average voter. And so the Democrats don't want to reform the program because they want to kill the program.
Sure.
But you've got a couple knucklehead Republicans who won't vote to limit or reform the program because they just don't believe that there should be any limits at all. And both extremes will kill the program. And so I was just very disappointed that we have people like Kimberly allowing herself to be talked into running against somebody who is, I think, doing a good job to have some reasonable limits and thereby protect the program.
Yeah.
Well, taxpayer.
Yeah. It's
and protect the taxpayer.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like that's his job. That would be part of the job of being the superintendent, would be make those decisions. So, like you say. Okay, very good. So, thank you all for your rant for the week. And why don't we move on to the Jeffrey Epstein saga? I have seen and heard a lot of stuff about this. I want to give you guys some background that you may or may not know, and you probably do. But Jeffrey Epstein was first arrested in Florida. He had an entanglement with a 15-year-old that led to the discovery of more girls about that age, and he went to jail in Florida for 12 or 13 months. And so he was convicted and he was in jail for 12, 14. But during that time, a lot of weird things happens. Now, one of the things I saw today was, I don't know if you know, but Epstein hired at that time, he hired a bunch of hotshot lawyers, okay? Top lawyers all over the country. One of them was Alan Dershowitz, okay? So Dershowitz is all over television now saying, oh yeah, there's a list, I've seen it. Well, he was on the defense, so during these cases. So yeah, he's seen everything, okay? But my question is, my first thought is when we're taking in all this, I thought, well, if the Democrats knew who was on the list when Biden's DOJ and FBI were involved, okay, if they knew Trump was on that list, they would have leaked that years ago, okay? They wouldn't have kept that secret. There's no way.
Correct.
Okay. So, and number two is, we don't know what Bondi and Dan Bongino, and let me say Dan Bongino, in my heart, I don't believe that Dan Bongino would lie about anything for anybody. I just don't believe that. Now, I don't know about Kash Patel, and I don't know Dan Bongino personally, but I just, over the years, come to find that he's about as honest person as you could find. And so I don't know what Bondi and Kash Patel and Bongino have seen, but my suspicion is that more than that they're hiding anything, that a lot of that information was destroyed by Biden's DOJ and FBI. Okay, they destroyed it. It's not there, what they have. Now, there is information with the Florida case that came under seal by the attorney then, okay, the federal attorney or the state attorney, I guess, that's in Florida. And I heard there's There's also a sealed grand jury, what do you call it, testimony, or the grand jury that first formed to go after Epstein in New York, the Southern District of New York, which is one of the notorious evil, corrupt judiciaries there is in the country. So would you be able to get that information if you could, right? Can somebody get that from them, right? So leading off on all this, I wanted to let you guys know some of the stuff I found out and researched and saw, and I'd like to have now your comments on what you think's going on. And do you think anybody's on the hot seat? Do you think this is going to blow over? Is it going to be forgotten here in a few days? There are a lot of MAGA YouTubers. There's a guy called Benny Johnson. He's going crazy on YouTube about this, that he's been lied to and blah 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 blah. And I said, well, how can you be lied to when you may have assumed there was a lot of information there when they said there was a list and there was video, but maybe there wasn't. Maybe they really don't have that much. Now, we don't know, So I did find a really good, logical, fact-based law explanation by this attorney named Andrew Blanca that I put up under 4 Men in America the other night and put it up on YouTube, because I have to give the guy credit. He did such a great job in 20 minutes of talking about this and explaining, to try to calm people down and talk some sense into people, because a lot of this I think is I've been lied to, so now I'm going to go off the deep end and go crazy about this, and I can't be wrong and blah blah blah. So anyway, please give me your thoughts, because I'd like to know from you guys what you think about all this.
Well, I'll leap in since
okay, go ahead, Paul.
Coming from the other way there.
Yeah.
I think this is a case where the president has been hoist on his own petard. He made this a campaign issue, and then Bondi came along and said, I haven't released it yet because it's on my desk and I'm going over it, including the client list. And then now it's kind of disappeared to the point that the Babylon Bee is rattling their cage. 9 reasons why Bondi won't release the Epstein Files and that sort of thing. And so I think this is a maybe more of a tempest in a teapot than we know, but there was so much put out about it, and so many people believe now that Epstein did something that was wrong, and there is so many questions about who was on the flight logs and what did they do when they got to Pleasure Island there or whatever it was. And then you had victims coming forward, Jeffrey or whatever her name is.
Jeffrey.
Yeah, okay. And then you got, what was it, Prince Andrew got brought into the program a little bit there too, and he got thrown out of the royal family, I think, on that basis. So there's something going on. Something happened. Now, what it is, we don't know, but there's rumors of the Mossad, money laundering,
CIA contacts,
sex trafficking. Yeah,
yeah.
I mean, there's just
money laundering.
There's just so many buckets that are being exposed to this thing, and yet the administration right now has got a sheet over the buckets, and it's their own making. And I read one thing today that said that this guy said, I have absolute faith in Donald J. Trump. And I know that if he's withholding this information, it's because letting it out would be worse for the country than keeping it in. And that there's something in the mix in there. Foreign national leaders are local leaders, and the whole system would collapse if every one of the people that were really involved in the Epstein issue were exposed to the public, and the public did whatever the public would do about these people, which would be basically just throwing them out of office. You might end up with, instead of 435 congressmen, you might end up with 27 or something. But anyway, the bottom line is his feeling is, let's let this ride. Let's let the president work his way through this. When he has found the path that satisfies his constituency about getting Epstein's story told without breaking the bank or breaking the country, he'll do something about it. Now, I don't know, what goes on up in Washington and what happens in Green Valley, Arizona. There's not a lot of mix. They have not consulted me one time about what we should do about the government. So I don't have a lot of answers for that. But the bottom line is, as I see it, is the president and his people have made a sticky wicket, as they say in old jolly old England, and now they've got to get it. What was the old tar baby thing? You're trying to get the tar baby off your fingers.
Yeah.
So anyway, it's something we need to study.
What about the thought, commenting on that, what about the thought of that this is that it's a false flag, that this was all, that what happened at the cabinet meeting and what was said was put up as a false flag or some kind of distraction for some other reason, right? For something else going on. Okay, well, I'll throw that out there because
that could well be. There could be a lot of things. Most governments, when they get in trouble domestically, start a war, take everybody's mind off of how bad their lives are at home, and start sending their kids off to get killed, and that gives them a different focus. So sure, this could be the tail wagging the dog kind of thing.
Okay, Ken or Zack, any comments?
I'm afraid I'd take up the last 20 minutes, so go ahead, Ken.
I'm sure Zack's got a good lean on this, but go ahead, Ken.
I really enjoyed listening to the comments by the
attorney.
Was it Blanca?
Yeah,
the attorney
Andrew Blanca. Yeah,
Andrew Blanca. I thought his points were very valid. I think there was a little bit of the Trump administration itself kind of setting the expectations of how fabulous this was. They set the expectations too high. I think if you look, I also happened upon a body language expert. I think he calls himself Dr. G, who evaluated some comments by Bondi, the president himself, and Levitt regarding this issue. Going back to, I think Bondi's stuff was back in February. She made some comments, and so I think Blanca's pretty much got it right. That I don't know that there was a list per se, but I think there's I think a lot more crap went on at some of these places, Epstein's Island and whatever, than we can imagine.
Yeah,
I think the depravity and the evil that happens at these high dollar places is beyond my ability to even maybe conceive or especially describe.
Yeah,
and so. When you know a little bit about that, and maybe Donald Trump runs in enough circles with enough people that ends up in those kinds of things, that he's not Jesus Christ. He's not
right.
He's not my moral compass. Let me say it that way.
Yeah.
Donald Trump is not my moral compass.
And one thing about Trump is, and I understand, Ken. I know where you're coming from. It's the same with me, but he's not a hang-arounder. He doesn't hang around with people he doesn't like. He doesn't associate with people he doesn't like. So he might know about it and he might have knowledge, but he's not gonna, he's
like you said that Blanca said.
Yeah.
If Trump or anyone pro-Trump had been on a list, Biden and his Department of Justice would not have
Kept
Now,
them quiet
maybe-
for a minute, right?
I think you're missing the point.
Okay, Zack, help us out.
Andrew Bronco's a defense attorney. He's been a defense attorney defending people in shooting incidents for 25 years.
Yeah, long time.
What you saw was a summary of the evidence in the defendant's favor to the jury.
Okay.
He's completely overlooking Ghislaine Maxwell's trial and the evidence that was sealed forever that came out of that. Plus, he's overlooking Pizzagate,
Yeah.
which has been proven.
What's Pizzagate? I don't even know that.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Pardon me.
Pizzagate is what's
Also, the Wiener laptop.
yeah, the Wiener laptop. It kind of hooks up with the
Okay.
Wiener laptop, Ken. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All of this stuff is out there that has been proven, been presented to grand juries. It's on the record. It's
Yeah.
available.
Yeah.
Okay, now you mentioned G. He came to the same conclusion I did when I watched Trump Bondi when this reporter asked a question about Epstein, and Trump immediately jumped on him before he finished answering the question.
Mhm.
Oh, why are you bringing up that? That was a scripted interlude. That was a practice scripted interlude. And the key word was Bondi sitting there moving her hair to the side, waiting, just knowing she was going to step in again when she got permission. That was all set up. Now, why? Now, I trust them. But I think there's compelling evidence and reason for them to do what they're doing. We've had 3 floods. The one in Texas was catastrophic. There has been in the back channel, which I know you guys don't watch, probably don't have access to actually, that there were weapons of mass destruction taken out of that cargo ship, the Evergreen cargo ship that was stopped in the Suez Canal. That was because the deep state was threatening, or they were looking for evidence this deep state was trying to conceal a nuclear bomb or weapon inside the United States, and happened upon the evidence of this one going to the Middle East and stopped it. So is there still that nuclear weapon inside the United States? And is the deep state, who has showed us they can cause all these floods and weapons and all of this discontent in the different cities, now taking it that last notch up? And they're buying time and keeping our attention over here on Epstein and upset about other things while they try to find this bomb. If I'm saying, we know that that threat has been put out there, or the back channel knows it, and they know that they found other stuff along those lines in search of it.
Yeah. And you got the Iranians running around the country that they haven't caught them all yet. Right?
And the 2 Albanians that visited Pam Bondi's office the day before she went into that meeting with Trump, and for 15 minutes, well, what did they talk about?
Yeah.
How did 2 Albanians walk into Pam Bondi's office in Washington, D.C. unannounced? They were there for a reason, and it was a compelling reason. Now, the body language on Bondi and Trump both in that, now I don't think that was Trump. And I told you, I think not last meeting, but last meeting and the one before, that I've been seeing people sitting in for Trump that weren't Trump. You know, when the guy's the same height as J.D. Vance or shorter than Melania, that's not Donald Trump. So what exactly is going on? We don't know. And we're just going to have to wait and find out.
So deep
Very
stuff. Yeah. Very interesting.
Well, I believe in, I'm Christian. I'm Latter-day Saint. If you've ever read, even casually, or studied or talked about one of our scriptures, we of course believe the Bible as well, but the Book of Mormon is a history of the civilizations that lived in America from about 400 BC or 600 BC to about 400 AD. And one of the common themes in the Book of Mormon is secret combinations that bring down governments. So I believe in secret combinations, and I think Zack is onto something here.
Yeah. Hey, just to let you know, Ken, I don't know if you knew a little bit of Mormon history. When
He does.
when, not to change the subject, but we'll get back to this. But when what was his name? Joseph Smith?
Yeah.
Joseph Smith.
When he packed up and moved everybody to where they went to, was it Nauvoo, Missouri, or Nauvoo, Illinois?
Illinois.
Yeah.
Illinois.
Well, they went from New York. They went from New York to Ohio. Then they went to Missouri. Then they ended up in Illinois, Nauvoo, and he was murdered there. And then Brigham Young brought him out to Utah.
Yeah, there were two Woolley brothers with Joseph Smith.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah,
Is that part of your clan?
as part of my clan. Yeah, and the former president of the Mormon Church, his wife's maiden name was Woolley. That's when I lived there in the late 70s, early 80s. I don't remember who the president was, but I don't remember his name. But his wife was
Late 70s would have been Spencer W. Kimball.
That's it.
Woolley Kimball.
Yeah.
He was from Thatcher.
Yeah.
Thatcher, Arizona. He was the Arizona prophet.
Yeah. So a little bit of the Woolley clan there in the history.
Okay.
Yeah, they came to my house all the time when we lived there, wanting to tell me about my ancestry, which are, they'd knock on the door and I'd get a few tips all the time. So.
All right.
So yeah, that's going back to the Epstein files. I think that's what we were talking about with it. Maybe this is some kind of diversion, something to draw our attention away from something that's really going on, because there's a lot of people believe that the whole meeting in the Oval Office, or not in the Oval Office, but the cabinet meeting was scripted, and that was all kind of set up, and that got everybody on fire, and that's all they're thinking about, talking about, and looking at, and it's too bad, because one of my rant for the week was going to be that we're going to, and I understand the feelings about this, Russia and Putin, and Trump thinks that Putin is lying to him now, and he keeps up the attacks and more attacks. But I don't think it's smart. I don't know why we don't put more pressure on Alynskyy to stop this stuff. Okay, we seem to let Alynsky's the one. He's more intransigent than Putin is, and I would put the heat on Alynskyy and make it, say, look, you got to take the deal, or you're not going to have a country left. Okay. And we don't need to give them any more money or any more weapons, because they're done. They're cooked. They're not going to win that war. Okay. And I know a lot of people want to say, well, you got to stand up to Putin. You can't let him get blah, blah, blah. Well, we didn't, that the war didn't start under Trump, and Putin's going to finish it if Alynskyy doesn't agree to what's going on. And I firmly believe, when you look back at the history of Ukraine and you find out about the Nazis in that country and what they were doing to the Russians in that country, and Putin strongly believes that he's defending Russian people living in the Ukraine, and that they've been abused, and bad things have happened to them, and they've had their language even taken away from them, and so he's determined to do what he's doing. But I hate to see us give any more money or any more weapons to him. I really do. So that's my rant for the week. Right or wrong?
Well, I think Ken and I have come to the same conclusion on different highways.
Yeah, there you go.
But the problem is has there been a pause in the direction we were expecting to go on that highway and a destination, and it has been paused, and there's a reason. We just don't know what that reason is. Now, I think Alynskyy and what's going on in Russia and the fallout between Trump and Elon Musk, and this is all just stuff to divert our attention from what's actually the prime mover in this. And I bet you quite a bit of money that at the bottom of it, in the end, we're going to find out it's Israel.
Yeah.
And it's going to be the Mossad and the Zionists and the leftover Nazis. They're the final holdouts of the deep state that are holding the last reins of the deep state that is causing this particular problem.
And there you go. Comments, thoughts.
If that doesn't get us 300 views, I don't know what will.
I don't know what would, right? Yeah, we got to be real careful. We have to be real careful now. When I put a title on the show before I post it, I need to put in some key words, right? So I'll really juice this one up, and we'll see what happens.
But that's to save the best for last, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Any comments, Paul? Final comments, thoughts?
No, I just sometimes I like being on this show because it gives me the opportunity to hear things that I haven't picked up somewhere else, and the opinions here are I know they're given in good faith, based on the facts as we know. So I don't really have any comments about any of that. I'm really surprised because the president just released some more munitions to Ukraine.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought he'd held off on that and was going to let them just stew in their own emptiness until the Russians forced them to sue for peace.
Yeah, what I heard was it was just some patriots. He's going to give them some more air defense.
It's defensive stuff.
That's what I heard. Yeah.
But
even that, I agree with you. Yeah, I'm disappointed he's doing that.
An M60 or a pistol.
Yeah.
The M60 is a little more offensive than a pistol.
Yeah.
But if I have a pistol, maybe I can go get an M60.
I really feel him. I feel in my heart that Alynsky's a clown show, and he's a comedian at heart. He's not a presidential person. He shouldn't be in that position. And how he got in there, I guess we got him in there under the coup, right? Obama did.
Mm-hmm. 2014.
Yeah.
Yeah. The Maidan.
Right. And which a lot of people don't even know.
Victoria Nuland.
Didn't know that even happened. Victoria Nuland and her cookies that she took to the Ukraine. So yeah. So anyway, final thoughts, guys.
Well, according to Zack, and I agree, what we're being allowed to see might be something that is intended to keep us from seeing the real stuff.
Yeah,
the shiny object.
Yeah. Well, we'll leave that message with the audience. People can think about that because right now the shiny thing is grabbing everybody's attention. Right? I mean, it's just incredible. So, so you guys. Thank you for coming on. Thank you for joining us, everybody. Thank you, Paul. Thank you, Zack. Thank you, Ken. I think we'll have Jeff back next week, but please join us, Zack, if you can. We'll have 5 men instead of 4. That's okay. We can handle it. I think we can have up to 100. We can have up to 100. We
need Zack.
Yeah, we need Zack. So, yeah. So
Jeff's gonna be all pruny.
Yeah, Jeff's gonna be pruny. For you guys. Knowledge, he stayed in San Diego and he's training some military guys swimming out there in San Diego. So, and he should be back next week. So anyway, thanks everybody for joining us. This is 4 Men in America. Thank you, Ken. Thank you, Zack. Thank you, Paul. And please subscribe and ring the bell and hit the like button. And we will see you all next week. Good night, everybody.
God bless America.
God bless America.
God bless
and bless those people in Texas.
Wait! You're home.
Oh, cool. Thanks, Mrs. A.
Start off by making your bed. If you make your bed every morning, you will have accomplished the first task of the day. It will give you a small sense of pride, and it will encourage you to do another task, and another, and another. And by the end of the day, that one task completed will have turned into many tasks completed. Making your bed will also reinforce the fact that the little things in life matter. If you can't do the little things right, you'll never be able to do the big things right. And if by chance you have a miserable day, you will come home to a bed that is made, that you made. And a made bed gives you encouragement that tomorrow will be better.